Hi, I'm Brandon Lokits, and this is Banking on Intelligence, a thought leadership series by nCino. And today, special guest, Mr. Sean Desmond. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. We'll kind of jump right in. Want to ask a question, maybe a broad question around where you see the banking landscape today.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I think in order to give some context to that question of today, we talk a little bit about where we have been, right? And over the course of the past several years, there have been what we've been referring to as some headwinds in the industry, right? Whether it's the constant speculation on interest rate movement and where that's going to head, and sometimes predicting that wrong, right? Across the board, the collective we. And I think the, liquidity crisis and the reality of that, as well as the longest inverted yield curve that banks have experienced in the past almost 50 years, right? And so we kind of turned the corner, and early this year, there's been optimism, like just a tone of optimism from our customer base. And we talked to, executives from banks and credit unions and IMBs the world over, whether we go meet them where they are on site or they come to our conferences or visit us here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And what we're hearing is, hey, that is largely behind us, other than, interest rates people have just settled on. They are what they are, right? And there is really a posture of growth around projected loan origination portfolios, around deposit positions, and just confidence around EPS for banks in general. And deregulation is being embraced as an overall positive thing. That being said, there is volatility, right, in what we see in the news every single day. And you have that, overall posture we've seen from the beginning of the year, sometimes checked by just a measured, what we would all call is just a healthy, but, cautious optimism.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. A follow-on maybe is how are you empowering change within the financial services industry?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think there's only a we here at nCino. I have the honor of leading this organization, but it's a team effort. And when I think about the alignment we have from a go-to-market perspective on what I would say is meeting the moment, we talk about a new era in financial services here at nCino. And what we mean is, as the industry does turn the corner and we do, really catch some of these tailwinds, there's also this massive inflection point just in technology as a whole, which is exciting. And these only come around every so often, maybe every 8 to 10 years, right? And so as the era of AI, is well underway, I point to really, two realities in nCino. One is I'm super excited that we're finishing some of the hard work that just needed to be done on our platform to bring together a single consistent experience for our customers, bankers, and their customers, whether we render that in branch or digital, right? And that's something that has been a commitment of the platform and the vision from day one. But as we now have expanded beyond commercial to onboarding, account opening, portfolio management, and loan origination across commercial, consumer, small business, and mortgage, that's underpinned by what we believe is one of the richest data sets in the world, right? Because we have aggregate purview on data from across banks, credit unions, IMBs the world over. And so what that means for us is that we have a very, very focused AI strategy, that we would continue to build out our banking advisor skills and deliver outcomes and efficiencies while we wrap agents around our entire workflow and automate everything we do and deliver on a unified API layer that becomes the gateway to data from nCino for our customers. And so I'm excited, just about the opportunity to lean in to this next era of AI. And we believe that our customers are validating every day that they want to do that with their trusted partner, one who's housed their data and delivered for them for the past 10 years. And so, we're just excited. I see a sense of urgency that's at an all-time high at the company to go meet that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on something that's been a common refrain that I've heard in a lot of these conversations with Chris Gufford, with Michael Chung. excitement is a common refrain that we keep hearing. And so that's fun to be a part of, candidly. Another common refrain we've heard in a lot of these conversations is what ultimately happens with the end customer, not nCino's customers, financial institutions, but the customers of the financial institutions. Could you talk a little bit about what that landscape, future state looks like for a customer?
Yeah. Listen, I think that there are certain things that, despite the rapid pace of change and innovation and opportunities that present themselves, certain things don't change too much. At the end of the day, the customer wants two things. They want to know how much money can I get approved for, and when can I get the money, right? And we think about it in the context of whether that's in a loan origination context or even opening an account experience, which you're opening an account for a reason, where you're onboarding a customer in a compliant way so that they can go continue the next motion, which is open an account, complete an origination experience. And so for me, it means trust and speed, right? For the end customer. They want to have a great technology experience with a trusted bank, whether that is an enterprise bank that's operating globally or nationally, or a regional bank that's operating in their backyard. There's a certain amount of inherent trust that's built up over time with their customers, and that experience needs to be served up with a technology partner that can do it with speed and efficiency, right? And so we're here, and I do believe that the current opportunity is to drive the type of speed and acceleration and velocity that folks didn't even imagine 3 to 5 years ago. When we talk about taking, processes from months to days to minutes, and minutes to seconds, that's much different conversation than we've been having, really, even a few short years ago.
With that said, maybe to dive in a little bit more deeply, you mentioned it earlier, talking about AI obviously being a big piece of the puzzle. Maybe a small peek behind the curtain, if you will, as it relates to how we're leveraging AI, perhaps internally. What does it mean from an nCino perspective to leverage this tool?
Yeah, first and foremost, we have this foundation, right, of customers that have been using our workflow. And up until now, they've been imagining that as an experience that actually does automate collaboration in a much different way, from manual and legacy processes to digital workflow. And now what we're saying is we can take that digital workflow and reimagine that and collapse many steps into one, right? And if you mentioned Chris Gufford talk about the path to one, where you would actually have agents wrapped around workflow, stringing multiple tasks together and completing these activities in a seamless way in the background. Even simple things, when you think about folks in our current system today that are actually dragging and dropping documents from DocMan, those things can be fully automated and validated at the same time, right? So you complete the motion with quality checks along the way, right? So, the experience for us from an AI standpoint would be automate everything, right? Validate everything, and then deliver that speed and efficiency to the customer. And the path to one would be, yes, you're always going to have a human in the loop because there's a trust element and we have to adjudicate the experience, but we're going to serve it up in an automated fashion.
Automate, validate, and deliver.
Yes, sir.
I like it. Well, Sean, thank you so much for your time. Definitely appreciate you being here. And thanks to our viewers. Again, I'm Brandon Lokits, and this has been Banking on Intelligence.